2 years ago, the city, for the first time, created an Office of Sustainability, and we appointed the first director, Joel Howrani Heeres, to lead that right from the beginning. Hasn't he been doing a great job? And so as we were recovering from bankruptcy, we said, we are going to rebuild this city in a thoughtful, conscious way, maybe in a way that wasn't done the first time the city was built. And in 2017, when President Trump announced the U.S. was going to pull out of the Paris Climate Accords, I joined with 250 mayors across the country, where we announced in Chicago that they may not do it nationally, but as mayors, each of us in our own cities, we're committed to live up to the Paris greenhouse gas emission cuts and the movement to a green economy. We're moving forward on our own, and I'm sure history will come back to us at the national level. But in the meantime, we don't have to stop doing what we could do. And I also appointed a 20-member Sustainability Advisory Commission, many of whom are here today. And this group, along with our ambassadors, held more than 100 community meetings to get the input from everyone, and the product is the agenda that you're going to see outlined today. We took some steps even before this. We became the first city in America with 100% energy-efficient LED streetlights. We did that because we had streetlights that weren't working, and we decided we don't need to catch up to the generation behind. We wanted to be a generation ahead. I'm sure you've seen out at O'Hare Park, where we built a 10-acre solar panel field to show that it could work successfully. We've added things like the MOGO bike system into the city so that there are options that don't involve cars. But what we didn't have was a comprehensive plan that would guide this city as we make decisions going forward. And so today, what you're going to see is a range of strategies. We're going to dramatically expand curbside recycling with a lot more education of households that aren't currently doing it, by offering curbside recycling for the first time in multifamily households and in commercial facilities, and at bus stops, which, interestingly enough, the same kind of people who are environmentally conscious enough to ride the bus in the first place would like to dispose of their waste in an environmentally sensitive way. These are the kinds of conversations that come out when you talk as a community. We're converting vacant land. First, we turned 11,000 lots back to neighbors, but now we're taking the vacant property and working with neighborhood groups and turning multiple parcels into gardens and parks that are maintained by the neighborhoods themselves, taking what had been a burned out house and putting it into green space that's used by the community. We're improving 80 parks across the city, get our children out and playing for much more of their day. We're introducing hybrid electric vehicles into the city fleet, showing private businesses that it can be done and work out well. And of course, right next door, I'm glad to say, that we are making certain that the Detroit incinerator never burns anything else again. All of these... All of these individual steps are important, but the most important thing of all is the document, because we have 22 city departments who now, as they plan each individual department's future, has as a guide our sustainability action agenda that we're going to follow as an administration. All of that has been possible with the help of so many in this room, but at this point, let me introduce the leader, Joel. Come on up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it very much. So today is a very exciting day, right? We've been waiting for over a year to announce this. So I am so excited to share with you today the Sustainability Action Agenda, which we really feel will put us on a path towards a healthy, green, and thriving Detroit for all Detroiters. For too long, we've tolerated air pollution from facilities such as the incinerator the mayor referred to, going into schoolyards and places where young people live. So we know we can't easily change the location of schools or even some of those facilities. But there's a number of things we can do to dramatically transform the quality of lives of the young people who they might affect. So by closing down the incinerator, and that was very much a group effort, we were able to improve air quality by removing 1,800 tons of pollutants from this area. By planting tree buffers along highways and busy streets, we can help capture the exhaust before it reaches the schoolyards and other places where our children are playing. And by educating people, and young people specifically, about the importance of recycling, composting, and other waste reduction, we can make sure we're not burying things that have value in our waste stream. We're actually recovering value from them. So I'm proud to say that these actions, among 40 others, are part of the Sustainability Action Agenda. And so the Sustainability Action Agenda really is a plan that outlines how we'll work across city departments, with community organizations, nonprofits, and residents to really advance these initiatives that dramatically will improve the quality of life for all Detroiters and put us on that path towards a healthy, green, and thriving Detroit for all. So I want to thank all the folks that have really made this possible. So the 20 members of the Sustainability Advisory Commission, the 22 departments and all the employees that have been part of this, all of our nonprofit partners, especially EcoWorks and DWEJ, who are part of our implementation team. 14 sustainability ambassadors, you're going to hear from Gary in a few minutes, who really got the word out and really helped us listen to neighbors throughout the city. And then, of course, our funders, the Kresge Foundation, the Wilson Foundation, Herb Foundation, and the Community Foundation of Southeastern Michigan. This wouldn't have been possible without you. And then Bloomberg Associates was a big help on the technical side. So throughout the engagement of this process, we chose to center the voices of Detroiters. We actually ended up speaking to over 6,000 Detroiters throughout this process through a survey, town halls, attending 100 different meetings throughout the city, block clubs, community festivals, and a really innovative engagement website where residents could actually map their thoughts and ideas. And Gary, one of our amazing ambassadors and a Detroit firefighter, is going to talk briefly about that later. But I want to talk about the agenda framework and how we've decided to structure it. So it really works towards 4 outcomes. One is we know that Detroiters need to be healthy and thriving. And that means having clean air without pollution, having access to healthy food and green space, and having equitable economic opportunities. We want to talk about access to safe and affordable housing that's energy and water efficient and free from hazards such as lead. We want to think about neighborhoods where recycling is easy to access and where multiple modes of transportation allows us to get around easily and safely. And then finally, digital connectivity so that people can connect to those economic opportunities. And then finally, we need to think about overall as a city, how is our infrastructure and our citizens resilient to the impacts of climate change that we already see with flooding on the Lower East Side and Jefferson Chalmers and in other places throughout the city? And how are we, as the mayor referred to, reducing our own contributions to climate change by reducing our own emissions? And so we have 43 actions in the Sustainability Action Agenda that in a very detailed way lay out the parties, the timelines, the partners of how we're going to accomplish these actions. And the mayor always says that we manage what we measure, so we're tracking 28 different indicators towards these goals so that we can really know where we're at in terms of that. And so I'm very proud to say that 67% of residents indicated that access to recycling was highly important. So I'm very excited to echo the mayor's sentiments around, we're launching the biggest expansion of recycling to date today in the city of Detroit. And Ron's going to tell you a few more details about that in a second, and I'm going to turn it over to him.
Thank you, Joel, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. As Joel indicated, expanding our recycling opportunities for all Detroiters is a significant component of the overall sustainability agenda. 5 years ago, when we switched from city providing services for all solid waste collections to having contractors providing those services, it gave us an opportunity for the first time to provide opportunities for all citywide residents to participate in recycling. At that particular time, our contracts, again, allowed for all single-family residents to be able to opt into our recycling program. 5 years ago, only 8% of all city households participated in recycling. Today, we've got about 61,000 households, single-family households participating in recycling, about 28.5% of the total single-family households throughout the city. Although that does show a significant increase, we're still far away from where we want to get to. The statewide goal is at least 40%. City to 40% recycling, but our internal goal within the city of Detroit is to provide opportunities for every Detroiter and every business within the city to have the opportunity to recycle. So we've got a lot of work to be done. So I'm very happy today to announce that through internal and external grants that we expect to receive official announcement within the next few weeks, we're going to invest an additional $1 million to expand our recycling program. And that funding is going to go for providing free cards to as many as 16,000 households. Right now, if residents choose to opt into the program, there's a $25 one-time fee for a recycling cart. These particular funding is going to allow us to eliminate that one-time fee. It's also going to provide for outreach for up to 30,000 residents. As Joel indicated, outreach and education is a huge component to expanding and getting everyone to understand how important recycling is. I indicated that right now 28% of our residential households are participating in recycling, but the actual amount of tonnage that's being diverted from the solid waste stream to go to landfills is actually only about 5%. So even though we have an increasing percentage of folks recycling, we still feel that there's opportunities to increase the amount of recyclables that actually end up being diverted from the landfill. The funding is also going to be used to, for the first time, provide recycling bins in as many as 150 different locations throughout the city, including parks, bus stops, adjacent to basketball courts and soccer fields, places where we know people are going to these locations with water bottles, soft drink bottles, in many cases just depositing those in the litter container. So this will give them an opportunity to recycle at those locations. And then we're also going to be, for the first time, expanding our recycling efforts throughout city facilities, including all of the police precincts and all of the fire stations. We'll be providing recycling containers to all of the city locations where DPW is providing those services so that recycling can occur at as many city facilities as possible. And then finally, this expansion for the first time, the mayor mentioned this earlier, provides for the opportunity to provide for recycling to those multifamily units and commercial businesses that currently don't have a means to the city of Detroit to currently recycle. A big component of our expansion is going to be reaching out to starting out with the 1,800 commercial and multifamily units that DPW services to give them the opportunity to participate in our recycling program. So we're extremely excited about that opportunity. That's just going to be the first step. Once we get those 1,800 businesses on board, we're just going to continue to expand to potentially include those commercial customers that are being serviced outside of DPW. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Darlene Strickland, and I am with Bedrock Detroit. And I must, first of all, tell you I am so honored to even have been asked to serve on this inaugural Sustainability Advisory Commission. It's just an amazing thing in terms of the collaboration that came together from the very beginning. It was very clear that the Office of Sustainability was determined that it was going to encompass and include everybody's voice. So they went to businesses, they went to neighborhoods, they went to learning institutions. Everybody has a seat at the table and everybody has a stake in the outcome of this whole thing. And what we do today, in my opinion, is not about what we're doing today. It's about the legacy we all collectively in this room and in this city leave for those that are coming behind us. They'll be talking about us if we do this right. So each sector has a role to play. Now that I'm off my soapbox, I'll get off now. I'm just saying, I just feel it. They had a role in contributing. We talked about healthy, thriving people. You can't have healthy, thriving people without people who have a purpose and they understand what their role is in the whole environment, collectively, holistically, and organically. You cannot. We looked at affordable quality homes. Everybody has the right to that. Clean, connected neighborhoods, equitable green city. That's what we're after. That's what everybody in this room, in my opinion, I'm hopeful, and that's what the goal is. Businesses have a responsibility. We're out there. We're front-facing. I've been honored to personally hold, a really high edict about recycling and sustainability, so it was an easy yes for me. And it was really easy for my team leaders to support me in serving on the commission. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I would be remiss if I did not do that. For everyone that is in the room that is on the commission, would you please raise your hands?
All right.
And every ambassador that's in the room, please stand up. Please stand up. Because we wouldn't have been as far-reaching without you, and we want you to know we appreciate you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to one of our phenomenal ambassadors, Mr. Gary Ringer.
Thank you. Once again, my name is Gary Ringer, firefighter for the last 19 years, city of Detroit, predominantly most of that time. Most of that time has been spent serving the Cody Rouge community at Joy Road and Southfield. The heart, grit, and resiliency of Detroiters is by far second to none. I'm going to say that once again. The heart, grit, and resiliency of Detroiters is by far second to none. The opportunity to serve in a different capacity and see the residents within the community that I reside, work, and play gave me an awesome opportunity to have a more intimate approach with those residents. And most times I see people at their worst in emergency situations. The Sustainability Action Agenda gave me the opportunity to basically engage those residents, find out what was their needs, what they were looking to have addressed, and from there, bring those results back to Joel and his team with the Office of Sustainability. I was honored to have that opportunity, and I look forward to seeing the actual plan come out and residents' response to that. Thank you.